Hello and welcome to a quick walk cycle animation tutorial in After Effects. For this animation, we are only going to create 4 simple key poses to achieve the entire walk cycle. If you have never animated a character in After Effects before, you can still follow along step by step to achieve the results. If you want to learn about how to rig the character before you start animation, be sure to check the previous tutorial I had posted. I will add the link in the description below. Let's get started. So here I have the rig open and I'm just simply going to modify this a little bit to suit the animation that we are going to do. First of all, I have created another pose for the collar, so it's in the second frame, and because he's looking at his left a little bit, so I thought this will align better. Now the right hand is in front of the torso, so that when he moves his right hand, it will come in the foreground and the left hand will go in the back. And we are going to make him walk towards screen right, so this shoe needs to be flipped. So let's just quickly do that. I'm going to adjust the anchor point near the joint and just going to right click on this, transform and flip horizontal. Okay, so if it is a bit off place, we just need to adjust it slightly, and let's rotate this little bit. So I'm just going to set it to 0 and I think that should be fine. Now this is the rig that we had created. It's very similar to the rig we have created in the previous tutorial. This is a face control. Let me just walk you through it. This is the face control created with joysticks and sliders. So I'm just going to use this up and down motion when he's walking, and the arms and the legs are done with rubber hose. And this leg is bending in the wrong direction, so let's just put 100 here so that both the legs bend in the same direction. Okay, now let's set up the layer stack so all our key controllers are at the top. So I'm going to select this controller for the left and right leg and the arms, the hip and the face. So the face is already at the top, so let's just deselect that. And I think all the controllers are already at the top, so I've arranged it in a way that if I set keys on all of this, I'll have it visible in my layer stack right at the top. This is convenient when you're animating because these are the only controls we are going to need for now, and later on we'll layer on the face animation as well. So let's get quickly started with the key poses. For a simple walk, we need just 4 key poses. Let's start with the contact pose. Okay, so I'm going to keep the hip at a very default position. Let's select all of them for now. 1 2 3 4 5, the 5 controls. Open up the position by pressing P, and you see position parameter is open for all the layers here. While selected all of these layers, you can click on this clock icon to set a key here at the very first frame, the 0 frame. But the better way to do that is I'm just going to close them. While all the controllers selected, press Option or Alt on Windows, and with that press P. So the position control will open up and a key will also be set on the same parameter. Okay, let's do that for rotation as well. So Option or Alt R. Okay, so now we have keys on all of these controllers for position and rotation. Okay, now let's set up our pose here. Let's start with the contact pose. Okay, so the left leg ahead and the right leg at the back. I'm just going to reduce the screen resolution here to 1/3, or let's keep it at half. This is just to reduce the load on the processor while we set up the keys, and it's easier to handle. Now I'm going to rotate this as a contact pose. Okay, so this is where the leg has just touched the ground, and let's take this slightly behind and rotate this as if it's almost this leg is almost on the heel. Okay, and since the left leg is at the front, the right hand will complement that. Okay, so something like this, and then let's take the left hand back. But now you see the left hand is bending outside, the elbow is outside, so let's change that bend direction to -100. So let's just type in -100 and it will go the other way. Now I'll select this, and I think the length is too long because we need it to be short in terms of perspective. So let's reduce this hose length to 330 maybe. Let's see how that goes. Or maybe we need it at 320. Just experiment and keep a length which feels natural. Let's take this hand back. Okay, at this angle it might not be visible, but just bear with me. So this is the contact pose. Okay, maybe we can take this hand slightly ahead. Okay, so this is a pretty standard pose, and then let's go 4 frames ahead. So on the 4th frame, let's bring in another key pose of the walk, which is the down pose. Okay, so here the hip will go down a little bit, the body is going to bear weight now. Okay, so we can just adjust it with the arrow keys or just do it manually. Let's not worry about the rotation. Let's just select this rotation key and copy and paste it here, because we are not going to rotate the hips as of now. The foot will be planted, so let the rotation go to 0. Okay, so the foot is planted now, and while the body goes down and the left foot is planted, this leg will go back. Okay, so let's take it back and up on its heel. So let's rotate this as well, very slightly. So these are the key poses we have right now. Okay, 1 and 2, and let's bring this foot slightly behind. Okay, so it's like walking on a treadmill right now because the character is in the same position. Make sure both the feet are moving together and almost at an equal distance. Okay, let's forget about our hands right now, we'll do them later. Let's fix the let's animate the hips and the legs for now. Let's complete that loop and then we can layer in the hands. Okay, let's go 4 frames ahead, which is now on the 8th frame, and I'm just going to copy paste the first hip position, and so it's on its neutral position, but from here I'm going to take it up a little bit, so the feet is going to push the body up. Now let's select this and make the leg go back and up a little, and then rotate the feet. Okay, so the feet has pushed the body up. Okay, and in this pose this feet will come up in the air, but now you see that this shoe is going behind the left leg, which is not correct. So let's just fix that. We need this leg and this shoe to be in front at the very foreground. So let's find out our shoes. Okay, so this is the shoe, and let's get it in the front. Okay, alright, let's get back to animation. So this is the pose. Alright, and here we can rotate the feet hanging or dragging just slightly. Okay, so now we have these 3 poses, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so the body weight takes the hips down, and then the left leg pushes the body up, and the right leg anticipates for the contact pose up ahead. Okay, here we can adjust it to go further slightly. We can do this refinement later on, so let's just put in our key poses first. Now another 4 frames, which is on the 12th frame. Let's make a contact pose just like this first one, but the legs will be flipped this time. Okay, we'll have to copy paste the hip position so that it's again back in the neutral pose, and the leg will come down for a contact pose. Let's rotate the foot to be something like this, and the back leg will go to go behind a little bit, just pushed up a little bit. So we can rotate this, and let's see if the leg flips are looking good. Okay, this is way too down, I guess. It has to go here. So adjust the poses. Animation is a really time consuming skill, because you need to test and just keep on flipping the poses, right? So we have these two poses now, left leg in front and then the right leg is in front. Okay, and this is what we want. So this one cycle is now complete, and here now we can take the hand which just only had the first pose. Now when the right leg will be in front, this left hand will go back, sorry, the right hand, and the left hand will come in front, in contrast with the right leg. Okay, so I guess this pose looks good. Now if I flip these two poses, it should look proper. I guess we can take this foot slightly ahead to stretch the pose. And also the hands, let's take them back slightly. Okay, so I think this flip looks good, right? We have the down pose, we have the push pose, and then the leg flip. Okay, so half the cycle is now complete, and you'll notice that hands are moving very in a very linear line, which is not right. They should be in curves, and also the feet are moving very linearly, because we have not refined these curves yet, but we will do that later on. Okay, now let's go back to animating the this side of the body. Let's go to the 16th frame now, again 4 frames ahead, and this time the hip will come down and the weight will be on the right leg. Alright, so we already have the hip pose here, the second pose here. Let's copy that so it stays consistent. So let's copy and paste that hip pose. Let's zero out the rotation, and let's push this leg behind. So this is the down position. Okay, and we have to make the leg go back and push off the ground. That's too much. We are kind of animating in diagonal perspective here, so we'll have to make a judgment. Okay, it's not exactly flat on the ground, the character is in perspective, so we'll have to see that the right leg is in front and the back leg is vanishing in perspective a little bit, right? Okay, so we have this pose again, the down pose. Let's go to the 20th frame and copy this hip pose, which is the push pose. It's going way up, and again the foot will go back and slightly up because it's pushing the body up, and we'll compensate that up pose with the right foot. And let's take the leg in the air, so something like this, and let's drag the foot a little bit behind. Okay, I'm going to take this back just a little. Alright, and then we come back to the 1 second mark, which is the 24th frame here, and the 0th frame it will be exactly the same as the last pose, right? So let's just copy all the keys back in position for all the controllers. Okay, even the hands. Alright, so now you see, let me take the entire character in frame. So we have an animation of 1 second here, and if I just play this, you'll see we have completed all the poses. So these are all the keys, these are only the keys that we have set, the key poses, and we have our basic animation done. Okay, the entire loop. Left leg at the front, this is the contact pose, this is the down pose, this is the push up pose, and then this is again the contact pose for the right leg. Then the right leg goes down, the body takes the weight, then it pushes up again and then comes back to the main contact pose. Okay, so the first frame and the last frame has to be exactly the same, there is no difference. So if I just click on the first pose and the last pose, it is the same. Only this way we can make it loop, and we can just copy paste all the key set infinitely and just create a loop of him walking, right? But we need to refine this a lot now, and that's pretty simple. I'm just going to select all the key frames for the hip. It needs to cushion, it doesn't have to be very linear. So either you can just right click keyframe assistant or easy ease, that is also okay. But or you can use any easy ease plugin. For example, I'm using motion 4 here and I like the value of 62, so it cushions. Alright, so it eases out of that pose and ease into the pose. Alright, and that's exactly what I want. Let's do the same for both the hands and just click on the center. Again, you can do easy ease if you don't have any plugin. That will smoothen out your poses. So you see that the hands are now easing into that pose, staying there, and easing out of it again to come back to the original one. Alright, we will not do that for the legs because we don't want them to ease. So because this has to go linear, it's contacting the ground, the body will be moving on the ground, so we don't need it to ease, because otherwise it will look floaty when we put it in the scene. Alright, so let me show you how to fix the leg and the curves of the legs first. We are done with the hips, they are moving up and down, it's a very simple motion. But for legs now, if I don't want to add more keys or add ease in and ease out, because this needs to be very linear, this position, only this curve, the top curve, we need to smoothen out. So I'm going to select that controller, select the pen tool on the toolbar and click on it and adjust the Bezier curve. Okay, this is very similar to how we do for graphic design. Just adjust the curve and the leg will move through that curve, right? It will not just move from one pose to another linearly. Now I've adjusted this curve and the back one ever so slightly. So now you'll notice that the leg moves very smoothly and follows a very natural arc. Okay, and this is exactly what we want. Now let's do the same thing for the back leg. It might look different because it's in perspective and we kind of gave it manual poses. So let me adjust the back curve here. Alright, now the legs look much better. Now let's do the same thing for the arms as well. Let's start with the right hand and I'll select this move key. Take this somewhere in between, otherwise you'll mess up the artwork itself. Let's take the pen tool, click on that first point and move the arm in a curve. Let's select the second key and do the same thing. You might notice that this is gone and pushed a little bit, so adjust it properly, both the curves. Now this is a good refinement. This is where you polish your animations. Okay, I don't want to add more keys in between and mess it up because it will not look smooth. So I'm doing it this way so that the path is very polished and smooth. Now one thing we didn't do is animate the rotation of the palms, which we should do. So I'm just going to put this rotation here. Maybe let's copy and paste this to the whatever you do with the first pose, copy and paste it to the last one, because both needs to be same for it to work. Now here perhaps we'll have a soft drag in the hand It can rotate out slightly. And then start with a drag again, and come back to its original pose. Alright, so since the first and the last frame is same, I'm just going to go to the second last frame and press N on the keyboard to limit the time slider. So it goes to the 23rd frame and then goes to the 0 frame again, which is the 24th technically. Okay, so it will not play these 2 frames twice, and our character will not look stuck for 2 frames. Okay, this is just a technical thing for looping the animation. Let's test this, and there you go, your hand looks really smooth. Let's do the same thing with the left hand again. So I'm going to select this first key and create an arc, adjust this arc as well, play along with this, play around with this, because you might not get it right the very first time. It might stretch out too much, or it might not, it will be bent too much. So it's important that we do some trial and error. So I'm going to add a key here, because it doesn't make sense to key anything here because it's not visible, it's behind the body. Alright, maybe we'll just go here, add a key, and then while it's moving, drag this a little bit. So this is called follow through and overlap. Okay, so it overlaps the pose very slightly and goes back. Okay, let's see how this looks. Alright, our hands and legs and hips are very well sorted, and you can see the walk cycle looks pretty natural and good. Now we need to animate the head and the face. Okay, let's select the head. The pivot is set at the neck, which is where we want it to, and we are only going to put keys on the rotation. So let's press Option or Alt R to key the first frame. Let's give it ease. I'm just going to make him look up a little bit, so maybe -4. Sometimes I have to compare this with this key with the keys above, so expand this layer stack. Okay, and here I have the key. Now the body goes down and it pushes up, right? After it pushes up, the head will still follow through, it will still go down a little bit. So I'm going to rotate it, go ahead, which is maybe 0. It will go back to 0. Then it will move up, and in the center it will go back to its default, which is -4. Okay, then it comes down, and then again the body pushes up. So I'm going to copy this key here again, and as usual the first and the last key pose will be the same. So this is -4, 0, -4, 0, and -4 again. Okay, let's see how it looks. I think we messed up just a little bit. Let's see what the problem is. It goes to 0, it goes to -4. Okay, it needs to be -4. So the first and last frame was not the same. Always compare it by clicking both the frames, and here we go. Alright, the head looks good. Now let's do the same thing with the face. So at his contact pose, I'm just going to give a key on the position. Alright, and when it goes down, let's bring it down slightly with the head. Okay, so maybe around the value of 90 here. And this here he can be looking up a little bit, about -60. The values may differ, it is very subjective to the comp size. so don't worry about it too much. So minus 60 and 60, okay. And then the head goes up. I'm going to make it go up again. It goes down and it starts pushing up, so the face will follow through just like the head, and then it will go back up again. So I'm just copying and pasting both the keys alternately, okay. Here our animation should be complete. Let's see how it looks. And there you go, we have a complete animation for our character. We simply used 4 key poses and only the hip and limbs controls, and then up and down for the head. Okay, you can now go ahead and add blinks or any other secondary animation if you want. To loop this, you can simply drag and select all of these keys and just copy and paste them just after this. So the first and last key poses are the same. So if I copy, for example, if I copy the hip keys, I'm going to put it on the last frame, copy all the set and paste it, so that the animation continues for that particular control, okay. Or you can use some plugin to select all of them and just keep on looping them, or you can use advanced scripts also, some basic script commands like loop out, ping pong and cycle, but I don't want to go into those complexities. You can really customize as you want. Basically it's very simple once you understand the dynamics of a walk cycle. And there can be 5 key poses as well. There can be lesser key poses if you don't want much details into it. It can be cartoony. It can be faster if instead of every 4 frames you set key poses every 3 frames. The walk will be much faster. So once you understand the principles that goes behind animation, you'll be able to create a very good walk cycle. Based on your requirements, you can adjust the complexity and work on refining those animations as much as you want. I hope you enjoyed this quick small tutorial for walk cycle, and I'll see you in the next one.